The year Chen Shubai became the national top scorer in the Gaokao. To recruit him, Peking and Tsinghua universities offered an extra couples admission spot. Everyone thought he would give that spot to me, but in the end, the one who went to Peking University with him, it was transfer student Su Jingshu. Peking University is Jingshu's dream. She needs this spot more than I do, Chen Shubai said. My grades aren't very good. If I went, people would only look down on me, so he helped me apply to an art school in Beijing. He also promised, when you graduate, we'll get married, but later, I set off overseas to continue my studies. When we met again, Chen Shubai looked at the ring on my finger, his eyes reddening with tears. Why, didn't you say you'd only marry me? 7 years after graduating from high school, that was the first time I heard Chen Shubai's name at an airport in a foreign land. When the girl waiting beside me cast her eyes on me for the 7th time, she finally couldn't hold back and called out to me tentatively, Mint. I instinctively looked up. I stared at the stranger's face, puzzled. It really is you. Do you remember me? I'm from Yongchuan No, 5 middle school too. Seeing me respond, she suddenly brightened up. Yongchuan No, 5 middle school is my high school alma mater. The other person is a fellow alumnus from my graduating class. She said we had once rehearsed a performance together for the school anniversary celebration. I can tell, she was trying very hard to stir up my memories of her, but my high school days were already too far behind me. So many familiar names and faces had already grown hazy. No matter how hard I searched my memory, I still couldn't make out who it was, but she didn't seem embarrassed at all. Instead, she said, you don't remember me. That's okay. Do you remember Chen Shubai? Chen Shubai. The moment I heard that name, my expression and gaze changed. It was so obvious that the other person saw through it at a glance. She went on, back then, you two were the most famous golden couple at school. When Chen Shubai came out top in the exam, both Tsinghua and Peking University fought to recruit him. They even added an extra spot just for him, saying they could admit his girlfriend too. So, what happened? Did you go to Peking University with Chen Shubai? Have you graduated now? Are you married? Are you traveling for work? She keeps chattering non-stop. He asked 4 or 5 questions in a row, but in reality, I didn't absorb a single word. My mind was flooded with all sorts of memories triggered by that name. I didn't know how to respond to the enthusiastic alumnus. Fortunately, the airport announcement for my flight came on at that moment. I quickly got up. Sorry, I have to board the plane. The other party was caught off guard, could only look at me with a puzzled expression too. Yet my state of mind did not settle simply because I had left. On the contrary, as I took my seat and resolved to sleep through the long 7-hour flight, it grew even heavier. The moment I closed my eyes, the name Chen Shubai keeps echoing in my mind. He felt like a sealed spell. The moment he was mentioned, everything about him was like quicksand in the desert, endless, non-stop. Chen Shubai was my childhood friend. He was also the first prodigy Yongchuan No, 5 high school had ever had since it was founded. During my 3 years of high school, he won more than 20 awards for the school. 7 years ago, he sat for the college entrance exam and once again topped the nation with an outstanding score of 748, taking the national championship. Both Tsinghua and Peking were shaken by it and came overnight to compete for him, just like that girl said, all to get him to choose their school. The 2 top universities put forward highly tempting offers and made a promise to them. Chen Shubai was allowed to bring one person of his choice, who would be admitted to Tsinghua or Peking University alongside him. That year, before Chen Shubai could even speak, words of congratulations had already reached my ears. After all, everyone in the grade knows about it. Chen Shubai and I grew up together, and our bond runs deep. But now, I remembered the girl's look of excitement and envy. A flicker of surprise and mockery spread through my heart. So, even now, there are still people who don't know. The truth is, the person who went to university with Chen Shubai back then wasn't me. 7 hours, I spent 6.5 hours in a daze. It wasn't until I got off the plane and received a phone call. Someone else's voice was filling my head. That's a bit better. Hello, are you there? Yeah, just landed. What's wrong? You don't seem yourself. They heard just 5 words from me, and they picked up on it. I had to marvel at Qian's sharpness, but I also didn't want to tell him what had happened before I boarded the plane. No need to add to the worry. It's nothing. I've just been on a long-haul flight for too long. Then hurry back to the hotel and get some good rest, okay? I hung up and got on the hotel shuttle. Jet lag hit me harder than I expected. I was utterly exhausted, yet no matter how hard I tried, I just couldn't fall asleep. I finally managed to turn things around. Then, out of the blue, I got a call from Baiwei, my high school class monitor. Mint, you're back in the country, and you didn't even say a word. She was really excited, but I was a little surprised. How did you know? Of course I saw it in the high school group chat. I haven't logged into QQ in ages. It took me a long time to remember the password. Before we graduated from high school, some alumni set up a group chat for our class. It was pretty lively at first, but as time went on, the group chat hadn't been updated for years. But then, just 2 days ago, someone posted a photo of me in the group chat. I can't believe it. I ran into the prom queen of our graduating class at an airport abroad. At first I wasn't sure it was her. I only knew for certain after calling out her name. She's so beautiful, so tall, and so elegant and intelligent. I can't breathe. It was a side profile shot of me sitting in a chair, eyes closed and lowered. I immediately recognized the background as the place where I boarded the plane a few days ago. No need to guess, the person who sent the message and took the photo. She was the alumna I ran into that day. My photo instantly lit up the group chat. Seriously, it's her. She hasn't changed at all. Is she there by herself? What about Chen Shubai? Didn't he come with her? I scrolled down a few more posts, then I saw Chen Shubai's name again. Just like before, whenever either one of us was mentioned, another person's name would always come up alongside it, like a shadow that never leaves, etched into the heart forever. For no, it was just her. The girl who posted the photos replied. Some were baffled, others confused. It wasn't until a message went out saying, "You didn't know, Chen Shubai and Bo broke up the year they graduated from the college entrance exam." That, the long silent group exploded into chatter again. Huh, what's going on? Break up? Chen Shubai likes Mint so much. How could he bear to break up with her? This topic kept coming up. The group chat had already racked up nearly 1,000 gossip-filled messages. As for me, the moment I saw the first one, I'd already lost any interest in scrolling further. Baiwei was still chattering away on the other end of the line. She asked which city I was in now. I didn't hide it and told her the truth. As soon as she heard that, she got even more excited. What a coincidence, I'm in Beijing too. We have to meet up, don't we? Let's grab a meal together. Back in high school I get along pretty well with Baiwei. After I went abroad, she was the only classmate I still kept in touch with. I didn't refuse. I nodded in agreement, and it was just that single nod. I saw the person who, in just a few short days back in the country, had thrown all my emotions into disarray. Chen Shubai. 5. To be honest, I was a bit surprised, because I hadn't expected Chen Shubai's friend gathering to be at the same place. That was right when I first saw Baiwei. She was just as excited as she'd sounded on the phone, hugging me tightly. She said, "Oh my gosh, I've missed you so much." She was still as lively and cheerful as she'd been in high school. She held my arm affectionately as we walked and talked. She went on at length, and I just listened quietly the whole time, until she brought up, "You have no idea how much our homeroom teacher regretted it when you didn't go to Tsinghua. You've been abroad for years." And he's still talking about it to the younger students in the next class. "Honestly, you're really something else. It's just Chen Shubai. Was he really worth this?" Her voice cut off abruptly. The footsteps came to a stop as well. I had still been lost in my own thoughts. The sudden silence made me realize something. I looked up, and sure enough, the person in front of me startled me too. Chen Shubai. 6. It's been 7 years, the first time I met Chen Shubai. During the years I spent growing up alone after we were separated, I had wondered about it countless times. What would Chen Shubai, at 17, grow up to be like? And now, the person standing before me is beginning to overlap with the image in my memory. A white shirt and black pants, a pair of eyes, cold yet strikingly beautiful. Gone were the awkward, immature traces of high school. Not as youthful and spirited as before, but now there was a greater sense of composure and restraint. The only thing that hadn't changed was that cool, detached air that seemed to come from deep within. I've always thought Chen Shubai was like a star, distant and indifferent. Now, looking at him again, I realized his coldness and distance had only grown more pronounced. Baiwei looked at me, then at him. The corridor that had originally seemed spacious. This sudden encounter inexplicably filled the air with a heavy, deathly silence. In an instant, it seemed to narrow. But soon enough, someone broke that suffocating constriction. "Shubai, everyone's here. We've just been waiting for you." A clear, gentle female voice came from behind Chen Shubai. The other person walked straight toward Chen Shubai. It wasn't until she noticed something odd about him that her gaze followed and landed on him. The moment our eyes met, I saw shock in her eyes, then her lips trembled slightly before she finally called out my name. "Be Blue, Mint." I could hear the unease in her voice. I Thought she had no reason to go that far after all. She was the one who came out on top back then, and I was the one who fled in defeat. In that moment, I found a second to think, if only that alumna at the airport were still here, I could tell her. The truth is, I wasn't the one who went to Peking University with Chen Shubai back then, it was her, Su Jingshu, 7, before the age of 17. How close was my relationship with Chen Shubai? Anyone who knows us knows, wherever Chen Shubai is, I'll be there. 2. Chen Shubai and I, at the moment of birth, their fates were bound together. We were born on the same year, month, and day. We'd been inseparable since kindergarten. The very first piece of candy Chen Shubai ever got must have been for me. He once fought my first fight for me, even my first period. He was the one who personally went out to buy me sanitary pads before I turned 17. Chen Shubai had never been absent from any part of my life. We were so close, so much so that everyone just assumed that we'd end up being each other's other half. So did I. It was during his sophomore year that everything changed. Su Jingshu showed up. She was a transfer student from the county seat. She was dropped into the honors class where Chen Shubai was. That was the first time I'd heard her name. It was the sophomore midterm exam. This unremarkable transfer student scored second in the entire school. She was only 1 point behind Chen Shubai, the top student in the school. Damn, you almost caught up to your man, Chen Shubai, at the time. Bai Wei was sucking on a lollipop, looking at the two names clustered so closely on the leaderboard. She clicked her tongue in amazement. I didn't think much of it back then. Don't worry, Chen Shubai is so impressive, she'll never catch up to him. Only later did I realize, this kind of pursuit wasn't the kind I thought it was, and I was horribly wrong. 8. I don't know when it started. Su Jingshu became the one we always ended up talking about whenever Chen Shubai and I chatted. It was also Su Jingshu who solved the math problem that had stumped Chen Shubai for so long. Maybe it was the first time she ever outscored Chen Shubai, or maybe it was the first time the two of them had ever competed in a contest. They were at each other's throats, yet perfectly in sync. They took first and second place, bringing honor to their school. A congratulatory banner for the two of them had been hanging on the teaching building for half a month. I used to think nothing of it. Su Jingshu, whom I had never given a second thought to, was slowly, little by little, taking over my place in Chen Shubai's heart. It wasn't until the year of the college entrance exam, Chen Shubai said to me, "Bo, I want to get into Peking University." Even though by then, we had already argued several times over Su Jingshu. It was still the height of the Cold War back then, but I still backed him. Sure, go for it. It wasn't until later that I found out Peking University wasn't his dream, it was Su Jingshu's. On the day he got an extra spot at Tsinghua or Peking University, he told me himself, "Mint, Peking University is Su Jingshu's dream. She needs this spot more than you do. Let her have it." 9. Now, I see Chen Shubai and Su Jingshu standing side by side. The two of them naturally share compatible chemistry and an air of intellect. Compared with 7 years ago, they seemed even more in sync now. Especially Su Jingshu. The moment her eyes met mine, she suddenly raised a hand and hooked her arm through Chen Shubai's. "Bo, you're back. Why didn't you let us know?" The unease in her eyes had already faded. It was a kind of courtesy and pride I wasn't familiar with. There was a subtle undertone of staking his claim. I've been abroad these past few years. I wasn't out of touch either. In the first year or two after I left the country, I still ended up hearing news about Chen Shubai and Su Jingshu. The two of them went to Peking University together. They were admitted to the same major and the same lab. They continued to shine just as brilliantly as they had in high school. They worked in perfect sync in their field, won countless awards, and smoothly went on to pursue graduate studies and a doctorate. Everyone said the two admired each other deeply, and were a perfect match. Talented and beautiful, they were the ideal literary genius and fair maiden, a perfectly matched pair. How ironic, people used to call Chen Shubai and me that too, but everything changed once the setting and the people around us became unfamiliar. After I was no longer by Chen Shubai's side, someone else was a better match for him, someone who truly understood him. I couldn't help but think of what Su Jingshu once said to me, "You're only relying on your good background." Lucky enough to have grown up with Chen Shubai, but if you were in my shoes, the one standing by his side might not be you. Back then, I dismissed it with disdain. At this point, it seems, what she said was indeed true. 10. Bai Wei was one of the few people who truly knew and understood the breakup between me and Chen Shubai. She didn't have a good impression of Chen Shubai. The same went for Su Jingshu. Bai Wei took my hand. "Who are you?" Does Min even know you? Why would she tell you? Su Jingshu's expression froze. She looked at Chen Shubai, at a loss. It was as if she hoped he would, like so many times before, speak up on her behalf. We can start from the moment we met. Chen Shubai looked as if his soul had been drained from him. He stood rigidly in place, yet his gaze stayed fixed on me. Bai Wei rolled her eyes. Take my hand and turn around. Let's go. Let's try another place. It seemed she was even less willing than I was to see. Chen Shubai can be stated plainly more persistent and more difficult to deal with than we imagined. After we leave, Chen Shubai followed closely behind. While Bai Wei and I were having dinner, he parked the car by the roadside. That's how I knew it was him at a glance. The numbers on the license plate looked familiar. It was our birthday. Through the windshield, I finally saw him in the driver's seat, but he didn't come over to disturb me. Sitting upright there, like a statue gazing with tender affection, I frowned slightly. Then came the ride back to the hotel. Chen Shubai followed behind me. After arriving at my destination, I couldn't help but get out of the car. I walked over to the driver's side window. I knocked on the glass. Chen Shubai, don't you know it's against the law to follow someone? The car window rolled down. Chen Shubai looked up. Only then did I notice his reddened eyes, holding back tears, with a hint of dampness in them. Xiaobo, you're ruthless. 11, Chen Shubai cried. 12, it reminds me of middle school. I was secretly photographed up my skirt by another boy, and Chen Shubai was so furious that he went to fight for justice on my behalf. That was his first fight, no real technique, just brute force. He beat the other guy so badly that he ended up in the hospital. The boy's parents came to the school and yelled that Chen Shubai should be given a major demerit. Faced with the teacher's demand for an apology, Chen Shubai was more stubborn than anyone else. I'm not apologizing. If anyone bullies Mint, I'll kill them. That day, Uncle Chen beat him so badly he couldn't even get out of bed. I went to see him. As soon as I saw him lying face down on the bed, the tears just started falling. Chen Shubai's heart ached as he wiped away my tears and tried to comfort me. Why are you crying? Does it hurt? No, no way. I clearly saw him trembling from the pain. Back then, no matter how much it hurt, Chen Shubai never shed a single tear, but now, he tilted his head up slightly. The moment we reunited and he saw me for the first time, he broke down in tears. Those tears slowly slid down from the corner of Chen Shubai's eyes. He looked as if he'd been terribly wronged. His nose, eyes, and even ears were red. He said I was cruel. I actually managed not to contact him for a full 7 years. Yeah, who would have thought that? Someone who used to get anxious after just one day away from Chen Shubai. I can't believe I actually managed to go 7 whole years without seeing Chen Shubai. Back then, I made up my mind and firmly chose to study abroad. Everyone thought I was just throwing a tantrum. No one believed me. I could really let go of the 18 years of inseparable feelings I'd had with Chen Shubai. Chen Shubai didn't believe it either. He came to see me and said he wanted to help me fill out my college applications. I picked out a lot of art schools for you, all of them in Beijing. Mint, please don't be mad, we can still be together. By then, he had already given the spot to Su Jingshu. Those who had once congratulated me fell silent. Their looks and attitudes turned to sympathy and regret. Chen Shubai held me in his arms. He promised me, when you graduate, we'll get married, okay? He knew what I cared about. I can't live without Chen Shubai, because I really do like him. I'm even certain of it. I'll only ever love Chen Shubai in this lifetime. It was true 18 years ago, and it's still true 18 years later, but so it turns out that the kind of crush you have when you're young doesn't last a lifetime. I stared silently at Chen Shubai. If only it had been a very, very long time ago he looked at me and said those words, it would have broken my heart beyond words. But now, I'm completely at peace. I didn't even want to sit here with him and dredge up the past, let alone argue over who was right or wrong. I raised a hand and called over the hotel security. I told him, this guy's been following me the whole way. Keep an eye on him. The security guard's puzzled expression turned serious. He stared warily at Chen Shubai. I turned and headed toward the hotel lobby. 2 days later, I went back to my high school alma mater to visit my homeroom teacher. My old teacher was overjoyed to see me back. She held my hand and talked to me at length. Her eyes were filled with affection and emotion. How are you doing these days? Are you still painting? When I started high school, my grades were pretty unstable. My family was so worried I wouldn't make it to the next level of school that they were extremely anxious. It was the newly transferred homeroom teacher who discovered my talent for art. I have an exceptional sense of color and a remarkably strong spatial imagination. She strongly encouraged me to pursue an artistic path. In the end, I set out on the path of learning to paint. During my 3 years of high school, she took very good care of me. Even when I first went abroad to study and look for an art school, her help behind the scenes was indispensable. After Chinshubai and I broke up back then, she was truly worried that I'd get hurt in love, and from that day on, I never picked up a paintbrush again. Yes, teacher, I've never stopped. She's the person I'm most grateful to, and this time, I'd even prepared a surprise for her. Teacher. I came back this time at Tsinghua's invitation to hold my first solo exhibition. I handed the invitation from my bag to her. The old homeroom teacher went from puzzled to utterly astonished. Tsinghua, a solo exhibition. The hand holding the invitation letter trembled slightly. The shock in her eyes gradually gave way to relief. Before long, her eyes misted over as she looked at me. I knew it, Mint, you've got real talent. You're my proudest student. Back when you stood up for Chinshubai, I was really afraid. Something stirred deep in my heart. Teacher, old Ban wiped the corners of his eyes and looked at me with deep emotion. When you gave up admission to both the Central Academy of Fine Arts and Tsinghua back then, I was so worried about you. Thank goodness, thank goodness. The more she wiped away her tears, the more kept coming. I couldn't help my eyes welling up with tears either. You will always be my beloved teacher. I chatted with my old teacher for quite a long time. She promised me she'd definitely come to my exhibition. Before I left, she couldn't help but say, Mint, your painting style has taken on a brighter tone compared to before. I understood what she was trying to say. A faint smile. Teacher, just as you thought. The teacher nodded lightly. Having gotten the answer, she looked at me with the same gentle warmth and kindness as she had years ago. Congratulations, and best wishes to you as well. I will. 14. After finishing the visit, I headed back to the hotel. The security guard who had seen me before suddenly came over. Ma'am, that friend of yours is here again. A friend. I followed his gaze in confusion, and there was Chinshubai's car again. This time, my brow furrowed even more tightly than it had the past couple of days. The security guard said helplessly, he's been coming every day these past 2 days, and he doesn't say anything, he just waits here. The security guard had asked him once before, but Chinshubai brought out our old photos. It shows that he meant no harm. The security guard kept an eye on him for 2 days and indeed didn't notice any suspicious behavior. Chinshubai neither asked nor moved forward. He just waited here every night without fail. He leaves during the day, probably back at school doing experiments. Ma'am, are you two having a falling out? They asked me, rather tactfully. I shook my head. I don't really know him, but I've seen him waiting for you for days, and he didn't seem quite himself today, he told me. I was taken aback for a second. Her gaze drifted outside and happened to meet Chin Shubai's eyes. Indeed, compared with the past couple of days, he looks a little off. It's been scorching hot these past few days, and even the security guards were worried something might happen to him. They asked me, how about we call the police? Ma'am, I was just about to nod, then suddenly, someone got out of a car that had just pulled up. It was Su Jingshu. She hurriedly ran toward Chinshubai. She pulled open the car door. No one knew what she said to him. Su Jingshu's gaze turned toward me. Her eyes were full of indignation and resentment. I looked away. No need. The person who came to take him away is already here. 15. I never really took what happened with Chinshubai to heart. Setting aside the fact that so many years have already passed, there's no point in bringing it up again. This trip back home, my main task is to hold an art exhibition. This is my first time holding an exhibition in China. I don't want anything unexpected to happen, so before the exhibition is over, I don't want to devote too much energy to anything else, but I never expected that. My reunion with Chinshubai, there was actually more to come. Chinshubai had fallen ill. He's been quite a prominent figure at school over the years. When he suddenly fell ill, of course people were bound to be concerned. A lot of people have been asking what happened. News like that never stays hidden for long. No idea where that rumor started. They say Chinshubai got sick because of me. Sigh. Chinshubai is really pitiful. She always ends up getting hurt because of her. Well, Xiao Baohe is Chinshubai's Achilles heel. Have you all forgotten how Chinshubai fought for Xiao Baohe back then? Come on, they've already been broken up for ages. Why is Chinshubai still chasing after her like that? He still loves her, that's why. Chinshubai was so crazy about Bo. When Xiao Bo left for abroad without saying a word, it practically shattered Chinshubai. Exactly. And now that she's back, he's been hovering around her for nights on end, terrified she'll run off again. The alumni group, quiet for a long time, suddenly came alive. because things between Chinshubai and me started getting quite a stir. It was obvious everyone had way too much free time. It was like everyone was feasting on a non-stop soap opera of gossip. Almost every day, someone in the group would leak a little bit of information. Let me tell you how close Chinshubai and I used to be, and let me tell you how Chinshubai fell apart and lost all his fighting spirit after I went abroad. Lastly, let me ask one more question, then why did she come back this time? Could it be for Chinshubai? By the time these rumors reached my ears, the early preparations for the art exhibition were almost complete. Meanwhile, I got a call from Chuyen. As usual, he asked me about how the exhibition was progressing. I told him I was fine afterward. His voice was tinged with apology. Sorry, I won't be able to go with you this time. I could hear more frustration and disappointment in his tone. She gave a helpless smile and reminded him, Mr. Chu, we've only been apart for half a month, but half a month is still a long time. Chuyen said pitifully, I miss you so much. We've never been apart this long before. That's true. When I used to hold exhibitions overseas, he would always make time to keep me company, but this time, the distance was too far, and he was swamped with work. That's why I had to come back alone. I comforted him. Then once the art exhibition is over, I'll come back right away. Okay, I'll come pick you up. My mood brightened after that phone call, but it didn't last long. Then one of the mutual friends I once shared with Chinshubai sent me a message. Mint, I heard you're back in the country. Shubai is sick. Could you come see him? I frowned. The two words no, I can't were already typed out. The other person said again, even if you've been apart for 7 years, it's not like you'd cut all ties forever, right? 16 not quite that bad. After thinking it over, I still bought a bouquet of flowers and went to the hospital. Chinshubai's hospital room was easy to find. Before knocking, I heard Su Jingshu's voice. How much longer are you going to keep putting yourself through this for her? She doesn't care about you at all. You've been sick for days. Has she come to see you? None of your business. Chinshubai's voice was cold and indifferent. Su Jingshu was both angry and furious. It wasn't until I knocked that she heard me. She turned, saw me, and frowned. Xiaobo, what are you doing here? Chinshubai froze, then quickly lifted his gaze. There are other people in the ward too. I don't know them, probably people from Chinshubai's lab. After hearing Su Shujing's words, they all turned to look at me. So that's the Mint senior brother Chin mentioned. Yes, she's the one who made senior brother Chin sick. I ignored the probing stares from everyone around me. I stepped into the hospital room and placed the flowers on the table. I heard you were sick, so I came to check on you. That friend was right. Chinshubai and I are not so far gone that we're completely on bad terms. At the very least, we grew up together. I've already let go of what happened back then. I've also built a new life for myself. There's no need to get hung up on a statement of white. If we can be friends, great. If not, I won't regret it. This trip today, it's also a way of making peace with our childhood. 17, that's how I see it. But Chinshubai wasn't. After seeing me walk over and speak, his dark, calm eyes immediately lit up. Mint, Chinshubai called my name. Then I suddenly remembered there were outsiders present. You all should head out first. The people who had come to visit him turned and left, but Su Jingshu remained where she was. Chinshubai said to Su Jingshu, you, get out too. Su Jingshu was taken aback. After looking at Chinshubai, she glanced at me once more. I saw her press her lips together, defiance flickering in her eyes. The ward soon fell quiet. This was also the first time in 7 years that I'd been alone with Chinshubai. Two people who used to talk about everything could even end up sitting in silence. Chinshubai told me to sit down. I didn't sit down. I stood a meter away from his hospital bed and watched him. Chinshubai, don't get the wrong idea. I really just came to see you. Now that I see you're okay, I'm going to leave. I turned to leave. Peppermint, Chinshubai suddenly called out to me. I looked back and saw his gaunt, pale face. Are you still mad at me? What I said that day was just to trick you. You're not heartless. I just missed you too much. Chinshubai's voice was hoarse. His eyes turned red again. I've been thinking about you every moment for the past 7 years. You have no idea how happy I was when I heard you were coming back to the country. That photo of the departure lounge an alumnus posted in the group chat. He looked at it countless times. Zoom in, then zoom out again. Even though I knew for sure it was me, I was still trembling with excitement until the day we met. That heart that had been hanging high in the air finally settled down. He had a lot to say to me. He was keeping an eye on my hotel, checking over and over again. I really am back even here. I got out of the car and spoke to him. Back then, it was usually me talking to Chinshubai at length. For once, it was Chinshubai who wouldn't stop talking. If this had been the me at 17, I would have been over the moon, but now, I've heard Chin Shubai say I miss you countless times. There was nothing left in her heart but indifference. Chin Shubai, staying outside a hotel for several nights without sleep is called harassment, not waiting. Also, I don't miss you, I'm doing very well now. I only came back to China this time because I had something to take care of. Running into you again was completely unexpected. If I could, I really wouldn't want to see him. I was so blunt and cold about it, the bright, cheerful look on Chin Shubai's face instantly turned dim and stiff. He kept staring at me, unwaveringly. It seemed like he was still trying to find proof of my lie in my eyes, but unfortunately, I was perfectly calm. It's getting late, so I'm heading out. Oh, and about that message in the group chat, I hope you'll clarify it. With that, I turned and left. Then Chin Shubai's voice suddenly rang out behind me. I don't believe it, Xiao Bohan, I don't believe it. If you truly didn't have even a shred of attachment to me, you wouldn't have come back. Chin Shubai prided himself on knowing me pretty well, but this time, all I felt was he was utterly baffling. 18. Not long after I left the hospital room, someone called out to stop me again. Xiao Baohe. Su Jingshu walked straight over to me. Her expression was stern and icy. Talk. I looked at her in confusion. After all, Su Jingshu and I were hardly even acquaintances since I'd come back. We'd run into each other a few times, though, but not a single word had been said. Honestly, there was really nothing to talk about except Chin Shubai. Just as expected, just as I thought, Su Jingshu came here for Chin Shubai. You used to avoid Chin Shubai and refuse to see him, and now you're deliberately showing up here. Xiao Bo, what exactly do you want? No one knew what had gotten Su Jingshu so worked up. I was immediately met with a barrage of questions. I was a little confused. Didn't I just say that? I'm just here to visit Chin Shubai. You hadn't contacted Chin Shubai for 7 years, and now that you're back in the country, you're causing such a scene. How did I never realize before that you were this scheming? But Su Jingshu was the same as Chin Shubai. Neither of them believed what I said. Her expression was cold and detached, with no warmth in her eyes. Got it. Su Jingshu also saw the message in the group chat. She thought I was playing hard to get and had come for Chin Shubai. I looked into Su Jingshu's eyes and caught a hint of scrutiny mixed with hostility. The way she looked now was nothing like the one in my memory. She was completely different from the cautious, careful girl she had been in high school. 19. When Su Jingshu was in high school, she was quiet and reserved, and didn't like chatting with people, except when it came to Chin Shubai. Whenever she ran into them on exams or in competition problem solving, she could always. He spoke confidently and with complete assurance. Everyone said she had a strikingly contradictory side, but after several interactions with her, Su Jingshu, however, gave me a very strange impression. When she found out I was an art student, she would ask me all sorts of questions right in front of Chin Shubai. I thought she was just curious or interested. I answered patiently, but Su Jingshu said, I really envy you guys. Being an art student is so much better. You can get into college with just a few points, unlike us. I noticed she had misunderstood, so I explained it to her. No, that's not true. We still have to put in a lot of effort too. Even so, you still have the option of pursuing art. A lot of kids from ordinary families can't afford art classes, so they can only rely on studying. I said, that's not necessarily true. Look at Chin Shubai. He's really impressive even without studying art, but a lot of kids from wealthy families don't even need to take the college entrance exam. Their parents send them off to study art, then they go abroad to polish their resumes. Just like you, right? Su Jingshu shot back with a question. I didn't know what she was trying to say, but this topic made me uncomfortable. I had no intention of going abroad. Chin Shubai and I had already made a promise to go to college together. Besides, our homeroom teacher had said so back then too. I worked hard and had talent. As long as I kept at it, getting into one of the top art academies shouldn't be a problem. But I told Su Jingshu all this, yet she wasn't happy at all. I see. Then you and Chin Shubai must be really close. But can you really get into the university Chin Shubai wants to attend? A lot of art teachers say things like that. Otherwise, how would you art students keep going? It's like how even the underachievers need encouragement too. Su Jingshu murmured. A deliberately forced smile played on her face. There wasn't a trace of emotion in his eyes. I didn't understand it back then, why Su Jingshu was so biased against art students. I only found out later. She didn't have a prejudice against art students. She had a prejudice against me. And prejudice gives rise to malice. During that final year of high school, her subtle malice was everywhere, like a venomous snake lying in wait in the shadows, always ready to strike at any moment. In the end, it dealt me a fatal blow. And all of this, it's all because of Chin Shubai. 20. You left, so why did you have to come back? Do you know how Shubai has gotten through these past 7 years? Su Jingshu asked angrily, she said. During the 7 years I was away, Chen Shubai had been living like a puppet. There was an accident in the lab once. Chen Shubai was injured and spent 3 days in the ICU. He was left barely clinging to life and remained unconscious the whole time, but he kept whispering my name. In the end, they only managed to wake Chen Shubai by shouting beside his hospital bed non-stop. When he was at his lowest, I was the one who stayed by Chen Shubai's side. So why should you come back and take all of his attention away the moment you return? Do you want to kill him, Su? Jingshu glared at me angrily. It was obvious that she was deeply infatuated with Chen Shubai. Over the past few days, the group has been talking about me. They also mentioned Su Jingshu to everyone else. She was the one with unwavering devotion, the quiet, steadfast guardian of love. I took Su Jingshu's advice. I wasn't sure whether to be angry or laugh. Maybe the sarcasm in my eyes was a little too obvious. Su Jingshu got even angrier. What are you laughing at, Su Jingshu? Isn't everything like this exactly what you wanted, but you didn't succeed, so how can you blame me for it? Su Jingshu's angry expression froze, rigid as a mask. 21. I looked back at her coldly. I still remember what Su Jingshu said to me. You're only writing on your background, lucky enough to have grown up with Chen Shubai, but if you were in my shoes, the one standing by his side might not be you. I found out Su Jingshu liked Chen Shubai during my senior year of high school. Back then, Chen Shubai lost a notebook full of rough drafts. It wasn't anything important, but Chen Shubai had written countless lines in it saying, Chen Shubai will always be with Xiaoba. Later, I found that notebook with Su Jingshu. Nothing had changed. The only thing that changed was that my name had been viciously crossed out. It was replaced with Su Jingshu's own name. After I found out, Su Jingshu had already made her hostility toward me completely unmistakable. She said, as long as you give me time to stay by Chen Shubai's side, he'll fall for me too. So she had long since decided to apply to the same university as Chen Shubai. But after learning about the promise between Chen Shubai and me 3 months before the college entrance exam, she broke her leg. To this day, I still don't know whether she did it on purpose or by accident. All I know is this: after that, Chen Shubai was worried that Su Jingshu would fall short on the college entrance exam, so he tutored her frequently, even on the nights when Su Jingshu texted him crying that she might not do well on the exam. He stayed up with her all night to comfort her. In the end, the college entrance exam was over. Su Jingshu missed out on Peking University by just 1 point. She wept uncontrollably. Everyone felt sorry for her, Chen Shubai included. It was also that very night, Chen Shubai said to me, Bo, Su Jingshu needs this spot more than you do. It's not like I never told Chen Shubai what was strange about this whole thing, but back then, Chen Shubai had eyes only for Su Jingshu. He even said to me, for her sake, your grades aren't good. Even if you go, people will just point fingers at you. Chen Shubai and I grew up together. When had he ever said something like that to me? In that moment, I knew Su Jingshu had one. I chose to go abroad, vowing to cut all ties with Chen Shubai, and getting into Tsinghua. As for that, I never told anyone. 22. Did we say something wrong? Giving the spot to you would have been a waste anyway, so you came back just to show off. That Chen Shubai still can't get over you. Su Jingshu flew into a ashamed and resentful rage. I realized that both Chen Shubai and Su Jingshu had misunderstood why I came back. In fact, they weren't the only ones. A lot of people are like that. It's not that I didn't want to explain, because before long, everyone found out. That same night, my old class rep posted on Moments. A student they both knew posted a screenshot to the group chat. It quickly caused a huge stir. The homeroom teacher captioned it, Congratulations to my student. 7 years ago, I was deeply disappointed when you gave up Tsinghua because of me. Now, as a rising star in the art world, you've been invited back to Tsinghua for an exhibition, and I'm proud of you. She attached a photo of the invitation, along with one of my exhibition posters. The poster features my name, photo, and signature work. Some people just don't get art, but they recognized at a glance that the person in the photo was me, our high school homeroom teacher posted this. Could this be Xiaobo? So she came back to China to host an exhibition by invitation. That's amazing. No way. I remember she studied art in high school. What's going on? Didn't people say she switched to art because her grades were bad and she didn't even get into college? How did it become that she turned down Tsinghua? This one screenshot sparked countless questions and rumors. Some nosy people had already started searching my name online. This is how the truth can be told. After gossiping for days about the love story between me and Chen Shubai, they finally turned their attention to the 7 years I spent abroad. It's true, Xiaobo graduated from one of the world's top art academies. A painting of hers sold for $1 million just 2 years ago. On top of that, She has hundreds of thousands of followers overseas, a lot of art media outlets have covered her. You art students probably don't know this. But Xiao Bo was the most talented art student in our class year. She passed both the joint entrance exam and the school entrance exams for the 4 major art academies, and her college entrance score was apparently pretty good too, good enough for Tsinghua. In the end, some art student classmate from the same year, no one knew where he came from, chimed in. Back then, the art students and the academic track students had classes in different buildings. This also meant there was very little information flowing between the two sides. At the time, Chen Shubai only thought I had scored just above the first tier university cutoff. He had no idea those points. It's already enough for me to stand alongside him and get into the same school. 23. Su Jingshu turned pale the moment she saw those messages. I heard she even went to ask her former homeroom teacher about it. She had once been so dismissive of me, someone she thought was so unremarkable, yet all this time, she had been shining brilliantly in another field. After receiving confirmation, she stayed unusually quiet for a few days. Bai Wei told me that Su Jingshu used to be pretty active on moments. Every now and then, she'd post photos of herself and Chen by accepting awards. Hey, if I remember right, didn't she once make a sly dig at you for not getting into college? When Bai Wei brought it up, my art exhibition has been underway for 2 days now. She had just heard about me from our old teacher. She even ordered a congratulatory bouquet for me before the exhibition opened, wishing me a smooth and successful show. I don't know, I forgot. I shook my head. Bai Wei didn't dwell on that answer either. She was preoccupied with something else. Mint, has Chen Shubai not come looking for you? I hadn't even had time to answer. The next second, speak of the devil, Chen Shubai had arrived. I saw him at the entrance to the exhibition hall. Compared with our first reunion, he looked gaunt and haggard, with a pallid face. He stood motionless in front of the poster for my art exhibition for a long time. It looked like a dried-out statue, standing there for so long even drew the staff's attention. Why isn't he coming in? Bai Wei was puzzled. I said quietly, maybe he just doesn't like my paintings. A very, very long time ago, Chen Shubai stopped paying attention to my paintings after that. He didn't even know which of my paintings had improved, which painting won the award. I don't know either. Back then, I really wanted to go to college with him. I truly put in a tremendous amount of effort. 24. A week later, my art exhibition wrapped up smoothly. Thanks to my old classmate promoting it for me on WeChat Moments, I ran into several old friends during the exhibition. On the day the exhibition closed, someone messaged me, Momo, now that the art show is over, are you heading abroad? Yeah, my flight's the day after tomorrow. Will you be back? Hard to say. Then let's grab a meal together tomorrow. Who knows if we'll ever get to see each other again after that. For some reason, that last line felt a little sad. After thinking it over, I nodded and agreed. After sending the flight details to Chuyen the next day, I went to the banquet, but inside the private room I didn't just run into some old friends. Su Jingshu was there too. The moment I saw her, I instinctively frowned. The friend who had organized the gathering noticed me freeze. He came right over to greet me. Mint, it's been so many years, you still haven't changed a bit. They exchanged pleasantries. They used my art exhibition as a way to break the ice and get the conversation going. Out of politeness and our childhood friendship, I answered selectively, and I did my best to keep ignoring Su Jingshu, who had always been there, but I soon found that they would always, without realizing it, steer the conversation toward Chen Shubai. I sensed something was off. I cut them off. If you have something to say, just say it. Everyone froze for a moment, then someone spoke up. Mint, could you go check on Shubai? Chen Shubai, what happened to him this time? After a few of them explained it to me, that's when I finally found out. It turned out that after Chen Shubai went back from the art exhibition that day, he became completely dazed and dejected. He had no interest in doing experiments at all. He didn't even want to step outside. It felt like he'd suddenly gone back to how things were when I first went abroad. We know you're still angry about what happened back then, but we've been friends since we were kids. You and Chen Shubai used to be so close, and seeing you to end up like this makes us feel terrible too. One of our friends said this with heartfelt earnestness. He was also the one who had previously asked me to go visit Chen Shubai, but again and again, I'm already fed up. I'm not angry. Who could stay truly angry at someone for 7 years? I feel nothing for Chen Shubai anymore. You've got the wrong person. I'm nobody to Chen Shubai. Don't talk to me about his affairs anymore. I stood up to leave. Suddenly, Su Jingshu, who had been silent all along, flew into a rage. Xiao Bo, do you have to be so heartless? You've already punished him for 7 years, isn't that enough? Do you have to wait until he's dead before you're satisfied? Su Jingshu's voice startled me. I turned around and looked at everyone. They chose to remain silent in response to Su Jingshu's words. In an instant, it was as if I had suddenly understood something. I came to this meeting still holding on to the feelings we had when we were young, but in these 7 years, they had already took Su Jingshu and Chen Shubai's side. 25. Momo, we don't mean anything by it, we just can't bear to see Shubai keep suffering like this. If there were any other way, we wouldn't have asked you to come. Do you know how Shubai got through these 7 years? If Jingshu hadn't stayed by his side all this time, you probably wouldn't even have gotten the chance to meet him. Shubai really does like you, all these years. He's been waiting for you. Everyone chimed in one after another. Her words were no different from the chat logs in the group over those past few days. Su Jingshu was already in tears. Her tears kept falling one after another. Complaint, blame, pleading, a jumble of conflicting emotions swirled in her eyes. Su Jingshu said, Xiao Baohe, if you don't care about Chen Shubai, I do. You win. I'm begging you, please go talk to him. From now on, I'll never bother the two of you again. It was so much to take in that my head was spinning. My mind was completely consumed by the name Chen Shubai. And then, of all times, I got a message from Chu Yan. Got it, babe, I'll be waiting for you to come home. He even sent out a photo of himself in the bathroom, showing off his abs. I wanted to laugh, but the situation I'm facing right now is wildly inappropriate. I looked at the others and flatly refused. I'm not going. Why? I'm married. The air suddenly fell dead silent. At that moment, everyone's expressions turned eerily blank and bewildered. Then, in unison, they all grew complicated. Someone looked over my shoulder. Shubai. I turned my head just in time to meet the gaze of Chen Shubai, who looked pale and unsteady on his feet. 26. I got married 2 years ago. Besides my family, very few people know about it. First, because I was abroad. Second, my husband, Chu Yan, has a sensitive identity and it wouldn't be appropriate to make it public, but if they look into it, they can still find some online posts about my secret marriage. Besides, this trip back home is only for half a month. Aside from the people I have to see, I never intended to make this public to anyone, including Chen Shubai. For one thing, there was no need, and also, I don't think we'll be seeing each other again, but I never expected that something like this would happen before I left. Those who had been the loudest before, the people who had hoped I'd give Chen Shubai a chance, were finally shut up. At last, the world fell silent, except for Chen Shubai. He seemed to realize something. His eyes were fixed intently on my fingers. There was a faint ring mark around it. He had never paid it any mind before, and I didn't disappoint him. I took the ring out of my bag and put it on. The moment the ring mark was covered, tears streamed down Chen Shubai's face. Why, didn't you say you'd only marry me? Chen Shubai kept repeating it over and over. He looked up at me. His eyes were already wet and bloodshot. You're lying to me, aren't you? Mint, say something. You're lying to me. Chen Shubai's expression was enough to move anyone. No one said a word. I didn't say anything either. Yeah, I did say that, but that was a promise made in childhood, just like when Chen Shubai, at 17, wrote in his notebook, Chen Shubai will always love Xiao Bo and will always be with Xiao Bo. He couldn't do it. I can't do it either. Chen Shubai was already crying uncontrollably. His body trembled. Somehow, before I knew it, only he and I were left in the private room. My hem was grabbed. The other person seemed unable to keep their footing and staggered to their knees on the floor. Bo, I regret it. I really do. I'm so sorry. Chen Shubai muttered. I don't know when he started regretting it. Chen Shubai said, if I'd known this would happen, I never should have given the spare spot to Su Jingshu in the first place. 27. I let out a sigh. You're wrong, Chen Shubai. I married someone else not because I was still angry with you. I just don't love you anymore. You didn't know, did you, actually? I came back to China looking for you. Chen Shubai looked at me with bloodshot eyes. His lashes, damp with tears, suddenly trembled. I gazed quietly into his eyes. 3 months after I left the country, I regretted it too. How could I possibly just let go of the 18-year relationship I had with Chen Shubai? During that time, I felt lonely and in pain every moment of every day. I cried all day long. I regretted leaving the country in a fit of pique. Longing wrapped around me like vines growing at breakneck speed. I couldn't breathe. I hoped that one day Chen Shubai would appear by my side, but when I opened my eyes, I was surrounded by a strange land and unfamiliar people. Then, one day at last, I couldn't take it anymore and bought a ticket home. I remember, it was a rainy night. I took a long-haul flight for 7 or 8 hours. I took a taxi in the rain to Chen Shubai's school, soaked to the skin, but what I saw was him and Su Shingshu kissing in front of the lab building, their bodies pressed tightly together. unwilling to part. I can't even remember anymore. Was it the rain that was too cold that day, or was it my heart? All I felt was that from head to toe, I was frozen solid, as if encased in ice. Chinshubai, you say you miss me, but for 7 years, you never once reached out to me, you never even asked about my life overseas, let alone tried to understand anything about it, and you never came all this way to find me. The way I once went looking for you. You don't love me. What you love is the hopelessly devoted version of yourself that thinks it loves me. Chinshubai let out a pained whimper, his voice was hoarse as he whispered, on the verge of an emotional breakdown, and no, that's not it. 28. After that night, my world was completely quiet again, no one came looking for me anymore, and no one mentioned Chinshubai to me again. On the day I left, Bai Wei came to see me off at the airport, tears welling in her eyes. She said, who knows when we'll see each other again. If you want to see me, you can come anytime, I'll cover the airfare. Bai Wei was amused by me and burst out laughing. She looked at me, and it seemed like there was still a lot she wanted to ask. I asked her cautiously. Bai Wei shook her head. Nothing much, I just felt a little emotional, that's all. Emotional about what? I didn't ask any further and just waved at them. I turned and headed toward the security checkpoint. Before boarding, I got a photo of the airport from Chien. Honey, I'm here to pick you up. Happy little pup. I couldn't help but laugh. Later on, the news about Chinshubai came in the form of his death notice. It was said he had been staying up late doing experiments and died of cardiac arrest from overexertion. As for Su Jingshu, without Chinshubai around, she lost all interest in her studies as well. In the end, it happened during one outing. She crossed the road in a daze and was hit by a car, and still hasn't woken up. A friend messaged to ask, Mint, will you come back for Chinshubai's funeral? No, that was the last time Chinshubai's name would ever be tied to mine. From then on, no matter how far I looked back, the old friend was gone forever. The end.